things, you know, it's important that other people become aware and go and find resources and learn. People my age and obviously everybody else as well. So.
The one thing that I find so devastating is when we look at these maps with all these little dots, and they call them receptors. They don't even have the decency to call them homes and families. They're just little dots on a map that say, well, 5 to 30% of these dots are going to be affected somehow. And being part of that percentage is very disheartening. We have a goat farm, and we know the goats are being affected. You know, they won't go inside their shelters at night when the wind is really bad. They just stand there and they look back towards the bush, towards where, you know, this noise is coming from, this vibration, which is so unusual for them. So, you know, sadly, I think we're going to be soon decreasing our herd to none because I just can't, you know, watch them continue to have these problems. I never know what to say once I'm up here. False pregnancies, we had some false pregnancies, we had some goats that weren't thriving. You know, it's just been a very odd last 9 months with everything that's been going on. We tell people sometimes get tired of hearing you constantly complain about this, but it is a daily fact of our life. So if anybody has questions after, you know, we're open to do that. Like I said, it's just a sad thing that more people are going to face unless we put a stop to it. Oh, and there will be nowhere else in Ontario, southwestern Ontario, for us to move to.
And another thing that I always like to remind people is that, you know, logistics and all that, and for it being sustainable, and the money is always a question, but, you know, to me, health should be first, and obviously people's rights should be first. So, you know, that's something that we need to consider and, you know, work on primarily, to me anyways.
Thanks very much. I've been told that there's a red car on the road, license AGDF976, whose lights are on. Okay. Good luck. The next presenter is Ron Wright. Is Ron Wright here? In that case, the next presenter is Marianne Hendricks.
Thank you, Mr. McNaughton, for allowing me to speak this evening on my thoughts around wind turbines in our area. My name is Marianne Hendricks, and I live and farm in this township with my children, and my grandchildren also live very close to me. Back in the 1990s, there were a lot of community meetings about large pig barns going up. They're going to destroy the environment, destroy our communities, turn Ontario into a cesspool of stink and poor-paying jobs, and reduce the property values in our area. And here we are. The pollution in our lakes comes from two-legged animals, and property values actually went up in areas where animal agriculture was allowed to grow. The fear bubble evaporated. What's different is the time needed for the process to build. There are years now for small bands of activists to travel across the province, and I don't want to belittle people's experience, but that's my experience. I have contacts from all across Ontario in many agricultural fields. Farmers on Wolf Island have told me the only sickness we have here is no check-itis, or it was a bit noisy, but after a month or so we got used to it. Now it doesn't bother us at all. Now that comment is very similar to what I hear from people who live close to the railroad tracks. My grandparents lived on Highway 22 before the 402 was built, and I'd say the same for the days I spent there each summer. A farmer in Essex County, he doesn't have turbines himself, but many of his neighbors do. He's been told that they believe it was a good business decision, but they really regret the divisiveness that's happened between them and their neighbors. They're not talking about health. but why should farmers be responsible for everybody else's anger and resentment? I've done some research into peer-reviewed studies, not editorials, and that's alleviated some concerns that I might have had about health, nuisance, or wildlife. But the real issue that we're hearing about now is the economics around green energy. I'll admit I'm a farmer with a lease to a wind company, maybe not one of the most silent ones around. There's lots of silent ones. And I have to say, it's nice money, but it isn't going to save the farm. If a farm or two of mine is chosen to have a turbine, I'll gain a good laneway and lose less than an acre of production around the tower. Other townships receive about $3,500 per year in taxes per turbine, and I think we all like pavement, maybe that will help. If my farm doesn't get the turbine, my lessor has promised a royalty on production on the area's projects. But are other taxpayers getting a good deal? I believe it is the government's job to take a long-term view of the province's needs. I think it's extremely naive to believe that cheap energy is a continuing possibility. Fossil fuels may not disappear in what's left of my lifetime, but it is finite. Nuclear energy is also. It may be cheaper to produce, but the capital costs and the disposal costs should scare us away. How many of us were thrilled to hear about the prospect of nuclear waste sailing down the Great Lakes to be detoxified across the ocean? Hydroelectric power is green and affordable, but limited in availability. Geothermal may be in the future. Technology has improved greatly with wind turbines over the years that they've been operating here, and will likely improve as we learn from their operation. But things don't improve by guessing on paper. They improve with practice and observation. We should also not be willing to put all our energy eggs in the same basket. Diversifying the sources of our power will enable the much-needed improvements in the rural infrastructure. In the Ridgetown area, the transmission improvements brought on by a wind project actually eliminated stray voltage on one hog farm that I know about. And is rural infrastructure not as important to Ontario as urban, like subways, for instance? Yes, we occasionally sell power at a low price, but over the last few years, we've also paid really high prices during summer peak hours. It is only the responsible thing to do to ensure that we will be closer to self-sufficiency when our manufacturing sector recovers.
Thank you very much. The next presenter was to be Jutta Spitz-Droste from Kincardine. She regrets that she's unable to be here tonight. And so the next presenter will be Michael Rayton. Michael Rayton. In that case, the final presenter will be Richard Wakefield.
Thank you all for coming out. My name is Richard Wakefield. I run the blog Ontario Wind Performance. Please have a look at it. Contrary to some of the things at least one person you've heard tonight, I'm going to give you a different perspective on wind turbines other than the health issue. And is the actual physical performance. In a single word, you have all been lied to about what these wind turbines can actually physically produce. You've been told by the wind industry and the Guinty government that the wind turbines, on an average over a year, will produce about 30% of their rated capacity. Now, when you think of that word average, you think of people average in height. We took all the people in this room and we measured their height. You would get a bell curve. The average would be the center with the most number of people at the average, and there would be an equal number of people on either side of the average. When the wind turbine people tell you that their yearly average is 30%, that's what you all think, a bell curve. The problem is, it's not a bell curve. If you look at the actual physical output over each individual hour over the year, the output follows a decay curve. And in the decay curve,